Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. This is we've done the last 2 years. The U.S. Attorney for the Western District, Mark Totten, has joined us for what he called the Safe Summer press conference, where we like to talk about proactively measures that we're going to be taking. We know that as it gets hotter, sometimes crime goes up. Although last year and the year before, we've seen our crime numbers go down. So that's a good thing, and this is where being proactive with public safety through our police department, that works. So we're here to share that with you today. We know that we continue to work on things like gun violence and crime initiatives. We've had a steady dose of prevention, intervention, and enforcement over the last few years since we saw things really spike during the pandemic here and everywhere else. And we continue those measures. So we continue to work with Advanced Peace. We are seeing the Lansing Empowerment Network really kick into high gear. We're going from getting kids out of bad situations to working on jobs programs and other things that will keep them away from being bored and keep them out of violence. So these are things that we will continue to do. But there are certain reminders we love to give every year, certainly for gun owners. Be responsible, lock up your gun. Don't allow it to be stolen, or you will face consequences. We passed an ordinance a year or two ago that you have to report if your gun is stolen. Don't just leave it in your glove box in your car or somewhere that it can easily be stolen. We want to make sure to keep those guns off the street. We have limited tools through the state on keeping guns off the street, but once they're there, we have a violent crime initiative that takes hundreds of guns off the streets every year, and they will continue to be aggressive. I was excited to see Eaton County in their deal with Delta Township adding an officer to our violent crime initiative. We know crime doesn't end at the border. It doesn't end at Waverly. It continues on throughout the region and throughout the state. So we have to partner together, and our violent crime initiative does that. It has the state, it has the feds, local government, Ingham County Sheriff. So we're glad to see that Delta Township's going to be able to join with that through Eaton County. We've proposed several budgets, and we want to increase our police officers. Certainly, that continues to be a priority. We're waiting on the state to see if they pass the public safety revenue sharing. If they do, we've passed a budget with 10 additional officers. So we will continue to navigate that. The hope is that will pass sometime through the summer, and if that takes effect in October, then we'll be able to add even more officers. Our chief continues to work with those in the academy to make sure that we're fully staffed and look at front loading. We know it's hard here and everywhere to get police officers, but we are going to continue to be aggressive in that front. But again, going into the summer, we want to remind people, we want to remind all people, and especially our young people, that as they're out of school, not to do things the wrong way. We want to make sure that they are having things to do. So we've got significant parks programs. Please check out our Lansing Living. Please check out Mikey 23 and other groups that we help out and assist and fund that are finding things for kids to do, whether it's building houses or any other programming. But going down the violence road is the wrong road, and we're gonna have alternatives, but we're also going to be aggressive, where if folks decide to do the wrong thing, our officers stand ready. They stand ready proactively. We were just at the Churchill Downs picnic, and our folks had a great presence there, and the community definitely supports seeing our officers proactively and not just on a bad day. And they will be there proactively. They're all over the place. I believe they were in Potter Walsh last night. So our community service through our police department does a fantastic job of talking to neighbors and kids and folks and showing how our police officers can be very proactive, but they're also ready to help out when there's crime and when there are victims. So I look forward to a safe summer. Mark Totten's not the U.S. attorney any longer. He stepped down, and they have not set a new one yet. But regardless, we're going to continue that work. And with that, I'm going to introduce our chief, Chief Backus. Right. Or,
I'm actually gonna
okay.
turn it over to
Chief Prattle.
Good morning, everyone. So, as the mayor said, each and every summer, the Lansing Police Department recognizes the need for proactive strategies to further our crime prevention efforts, and obviously this year is no different. It's also no secret that the Lansing Police Department believes in accountability and transparency, and so the sharing of our plans is just as important as the plans themselves. So the 2025 Safe Summer Plan is a community-driven, multi-unit effort plan that's aimed at preventing gun violence, but also promoting overall safety. To accomplish our goals, we've established a multifaceted approach using focused deterrence, data-driven, problem-oriented, and community policing efforts. More specifically, LPD will utilize a coordinated and collaborative effort between our in-house specialty units to maximize our overall effectiveness. Our community partnerships will also play a key role in the success of this plan as well. So essentially, we've broken this plan down into 5 different key initiatives. First is what we're going to call our Bike Patrol Blitz. So throughout the summer, expect to see our officers proactively patrolling the neighborhoods on our bikes. This is obviously going to help increase our visibility. The next strategy is what we're calling Pop-Up, Patrol, and Chill. So our officers are randomly going to be popping into the various city community parks armed with hot dogs, grills, and drinks, eager to engage the kids and anybody else in the community that's willing to come out and shoot some hoops, or foot races have become a popular thing with our guys. The next one is our walk and talk effort. So this is pretty simple. You're going to see cops on foot, walking around, possibly even going door to door to talk about safety information and also look to address any neighborhood concerns that come up. Again, this is just an effort to establish community connections through direct community connections. The next 2 are more of the enforcement side of things. So the next topic is called Focused Enforcement or Night Watch. So this effort is aimed to be proactively addressing our hotspot areas. And these hotspot areas have been identified using our crime data from our crime analysts. So this is a coordinated effort between our specialty units for joint enforcement missions. To go along with this enforcement effort is our aggressive driving enforcement. So what we're going to do here is we're going to deploy additional officers into our high complaint zones to take enforcement on moving motor vehicle violations. So as you can see, this is an incorporated blend of both enforcement and engagement tactics. It's important to know that these plans are very fluid, giving us the ability to modify or change them as we see needed. Also keep in mind that these are things that we've already been doing. This plan simply highlights our efforts and places a stronger emphasis on community visibility and communication. So the last thing I want to touch on is our curfew ordinance. So this is just a reminder for kids under 12, they must be off the streets by 10 p.m. And our community kids 13 to age 16 have a midnight curfew. Obviously, there's exceptions to this ordinance, and that includes being with a parent or guardian, or returning home from a school-related function, volunteer efforts, or work efforts like that. So with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions in reference to the Summer Safe Plan.
I just wanted to know, how does this summer plan differ from any other plans you guys have had in the past? What makes this plan so special?
That's a great question, and like I highlighted, these efforts are things that we do on a daily basis. What this does is this just gives us an opportunity to communicate and highlight all of our efforts in the community for folks that may not know about the things that we do.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions about, how come there aren't cops in the neighborhood? How come, we don't see them? And I remind people that first we have 400 miles of road and we have 100,000 calls, so our cops are doing the best to respond. But we do want to highlight that there are community policing efforts significantly in the neighborhoods. And when Assistant Chief talks about cops walking around and cops on bikes, a lot of folks out there, they don't realize this is being done. because maybe they weren't home when the cop came by, or maybe it was next street over. But it is being done, and we want folks to know that it's being done, and hopefully they will see that officer in their neighborhood.
Question, if there is a neighborhood that you all haven't visited yet, is there a way where neighbors can reach out to you all and say that they would like your presence there?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go on our webpage, there's a form on there that you can fill out to request LPD's presence, whether that be at an event or a community picnic or anything like that. There's a page on there. You fill out the request, and that gets sent directly to our community services unit that will then turn around and be in communication.
Yeah. I'll also add, one of the coolest things I've seen with LPD, this was a few years ago, and I hope they do it again. I was out at an event, and an LPD cop car came by playing the Ice Cream Man song. That little jingle that you can't get out of your head. And I saw like 8 kids bolt out of their house, run to the car, and stop dead in their tracks. Like, what do I do now? And the officers opened the window and started handing out ice cream sandwiches. It was by far one of the coolest things that I've seen. And I've talked to some of your folks in community service and said, we should be doing that again. And again, when they're talking about being in the neighborhoods and talking to kids and shooting hoops, we had a PAL event, a Police Athletic League event a few years ago, where the officers were shooting hoops with the kids. It really helps to build back the trust. During the pandemic, we couldn't be outside, and we really couldn't be talking to anyone, and trust was broken all over the country. And in the last few years, our police officers have really been building back trust. And every time I go to a neighborhood picnic or barbecue, especially over the summer, right? This is the summer, we help to fund a lot of those, a lot of picnics and barbecues, and you get lots of folks there, and they love chatting with the officers. They love shooting hoops. They love just talking about the neighborhood. They're all going to have a chance to go to the officer and say, hey, I saw this or I heard this. So it's a chance for them to reach out without having to call 911 or non-emergency. It's a human. And what they do, it's just fantastic. So I can't thank our chief and our assistant chief enough, from leadership from the top, but then all of our officers who are in the neighborhoods, who are doing the work, whether it's responding to the calls or being proactive with community service and community policing officers. People love that because it builds trust and it lets them see a face in their neighborhood. So this is all tremendously important. So it is something that we're doing, but we got to talk more about it. So you, the media, can share that with the neighbors in Lansing. Other questions?
Last question. So essentially, you would consider this to be like more of a community police officer, like bettering the relationship between them. Because I was going to ask, more police presence. How do you think the residents are going to feel seeing more police presence in their neighborhoods? And do you feel like this new plan is essentially to mend the relationship between the police and the residents of Lansing, specifically residents who might have a negative perspective of law enforcement?
I know we do, and you guys can. We do polling for this fairly often. We have a company that does it, and we have a very high trust factor in Lansing, 60-70%, somewhere in the 70s. We can probably get you the numbers. So I think that when you talk about repair, I think it's been repaired. This is continuing. Now, is it 100%? Of course not. Nothing's 100%. But I think there is a very high trust factor between the residents and the police and our firefighters and all of our public safety. And again, the more that they get out, I hope you all will go to some of these neighborhood picnics and see, folks go over to the police officers and they want to just chat. Kids come over and they want to sit on the bikes, right? They want to have fun and enjoy. They're not afraid of someone with a badge and a uniform. They're excited to see those folks there, again, proactively, talking to the neighborhoods, talking about, hey, we're here, we're in the neighborhood, give us a call. Our community policing officer, they point to the crime stats. Folks in tight neighborhoods, they're very neighborly. They help each other. When they see something wrong, they call the police. If there's something going on at a neighbor's house, if someone's driving by a few times, they'll call the cops and the cops will come by. It's a really positive relationship, mostly. And again, we have the data that shows that the trust factor has really gone back up to where it was pre-pandemic. If you want to address that from the police side.
To your point, there's definitely people in our community that have had different experiences with law enforcement. And so sometimes when that is allowed to just sit there and we don't have the opportunity to talk to people and maybe explain why things happen a certain way or get their viewpoint of what they felt like, then that bridge never gets built. So part of the whole purpose of this is to be out on foot, engaging people in the hopes that we can have those conversations. And they're not always going to be easy conversations, but they're ones that both sides need to have. So when you talk about people that have different opinions of the police, the hope is that by being on foot, by being on bicycles, we make ourselves accessible so we can start breaking down some of these barriers.
We are here at the beginning of the summer and talking about our continued Safe Summer programs. Our police officers are going to be in neighborhoods throughout the city. They're going to be walking the beat. They're going to be there to talk to residents as they want. They're going to hear from folks. I hear all the time people saying we'd love to have officers walking around and patrolling, and we want to make sure they know that our officers are there. They're going to be at picnics, and they're going to be at barbecues, and they're going to be at neighborhood meetings, and they're going to be there talking to residents and hearing from them, as well as responding to different calls. So this is a great way to make sure that folks know that they're safe in Lansing, and that we're going to continue to keep crime down.
My name is Rob Backus. I'm the Chief of Police, and we're here today discussing the Summer Safety Plan. We just want the community to be ready for us to be in the neighborhood and to come to us with questions and be prepared to be engaged. We want partnerships, we want conversations, we want to know what's affecting people in their neighborhoods specifically that we can help with. And if they're satisfied with the way things are going, the next part is about building partnerships. And I think we can build partnerships if people have problems that need to be addressed, but we can also build partnerships just by discussing what's going right too. It's about engagement, and that's why this whole summer safety plan, there's a big part of it that includes our community efforts to engage more of our citizens.